Thank you so much, George, for joining us for this our inaugural episode of our 5 minute chat. We're really, really thrilled to have you. So if we can jump right in with a short introduction about yourself and the work you do at Sequoia.
Absolutely. So my name is George Robson. I'm a partner here at Sequoia based in our London office. That's normal because we opened this office about 3.5 years ago, but I work with a mix of early stage companies here in Europe and in the US.
Okay, wonderful. So we know you founded an accelerator during your time at university at the LSE. So our first question is, what would you say is the role of universities in sort of spurring startup ecosystem growth?
I think at LSE, my main insight was actually going out and spending time with students across different functions, studying different degree programs who are incredibly passionate about building, obviously, expertise in those problem areas and being able to do that in an environment where you're supported by faculty, but actually generally companies who are coming on campus to help you benefit from their perspectives from industry.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know you've said that the next trillionaire is going to be either in climate tech or in crypto. What would you say you're most looking forward to, most excited about in VC for 2024?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize it's a great time to found a great company. I think if you think about where we are today, you have less fierce competition in the fundraising markets than maybe a couple of years ago. So if you go out with a unique and compelling idea, you can be a center of gravity, not just for talent, but for capital coming into the business. There are problems that are being solved now that are measured in almost percentage of GDP terms as we think about industrial automation, we think about how we reinvent our healthcare system, the generational wealth transfer, things like this. These are generational problems of scale that technology is solving day by day. And actually, there are a bunch of enabling technologies coming together around, obviously, AI and automation, computer vision being applied to a whole range of these different areas, and frankly, just some of the most important problems for our society being addressed over the next decade.
That's really exciting. And what are you putting your money on in terms of the next 10 years?
Yeah, I think, as I'm sure you've seen, there's a big emphasis at the moment on manufacturing moving back to the West. I think historically, there's a lot of very skilled labor that is needed to deliver that at scale. The reality is that technology will help bridge the gap because what you're seeing now, applications of robotics, applications of kind of building observability of what is happening in warehouses and manufacturing facilities. A lot of that technology is helping us to compete from a cost perspective with other parts of the world where the cost of labor is cheaper, and also allow us to make use of the fact that many of these different populations who built this very manual expertise in manufacturing are getting older and are kind of aging out. So actually technology is helping to bridge the gap and make sure that we can move that manufacturing base back to the West.
Brilliant. And that's also something that we saw a lot with our event in Mexico City, that nearshoring was a huge trend in the economy there. I think that sort of brings us on to the next question is, what would you say the role of startups from more emerging markets is, and what would you say are the main opportunities there and perhaps challenges?
Yeah, I think on the opportunity side, many of these trends reverberate around the globe. I think you've seen it in consumer, a lot of these different tendencies emerging from Asia and from across kind of Southeast Asia as well, starting to take place in the way that we think about shopping online, interacting with brands, the shape of consumer social products, things like that. So if you can take influences from other parts of the globe and start to apply it in markets in the West, in the US, and in Europe, I think that gives you an edge because you understand little aspects of how the future looks like, and vice versa. Taking learnings from the West and bringing it to emerging markets obviously works as well. I think the challenges are, all of us as want to work with and founders want to build kind of generational companies. To do that is hard. It takes a long time. And it takes a lot of expertise, particularly in the team. So finding people around you that have seen that level of scale, I think is incredibly important, and making sure you can lean on that expertise through your network, through investors, and through learning from and observing companies built in some of these more mature markets is an incredibly important input.
Okay, our last question to wrap up the discussion on a bit of a different note is, if you could have dinner with one historical figure of any period of history, who would it be and why?
I've always been interested in people that have influence beyond just their direct domain. I think I've been reading a lot about kind of the Roman Empire and things like that recently. There's a great exhibition here in London, as you may be aware, going back to someone like a Julius Caesar and just learning about, shaping a political, economic, and kind of military environment. I think a lot of those questions resonate across history. So someone like...
Really aiming quite high there, but I guess...
Yeah, he'll be double booked, but it's worth it.
It's brilliant. You can rewrite all the history books. Well, wonderful. It's been really good to have you, George. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.